Hey there, Tolkieneers.
I'm Danny J.
And I'm Joel N.
And I'm Trever D.
And collectively we are
Keep
on
Tolkien.
Yeah. And welcome back for our weekly react. Sorry, this one's coming at you a little later.
A little late. Joel's in Canada.
I was up in Canada, the good
Fleeing
old
the country.
up in the good old land of maple syrup. It was pretty nice. I went up for a vacation anniversary, but
Yeah.
this episode. So this week
This is episode 6.
we got episode 6, and we've also got Trever.
Trever Dunlap.
We got a Trever here reacting with us this week just because we figured we were going to want to have him on for this episode because there's some shit that happened.
Yeah.
There's some shit that happened.
And
So
Trevor's always got a place here.
yeah, he's always got a place with us. So let's kind of go through again the episode a little chronologically. So this was episode 6, which was titled...
Spoiler alert, by the way. Just wanted to do that.
Spoiler alert.
We're about to
Oh,
spoiler.
of course. We're about to react to the episode. We're going to talk about things.
Spoiler
in depth.
episode 6. We've just been saying that in the beginning of every episode, so I figured...
Spoilers
we might as
ahead.
well. Spoilers
Consistency.
So episode 6 was titled Udun, which I'm sure many people would recognize as a name for the... What is it? One of the plain regions within Mordor.
Yeah, it's a little section of Mordor there. And Gandalf also calls the Balrog Flame of Udun.
Flame of Udun. But so it starts off with, I believe, where we've got Adar here talking to the orcs. He's giving them a rallying speech before their battle. He says that they've been persecuted from the Arid Mithrin to the Ethel Arnon.
Yeah, which we weren't sure the second one. Arid Mithrin is, if you got your Elvish on you, means Grey Mountains.
Grey Mountains.
But Ethel Arnon we weren't sure about. So maybe Ethel Duoth?
Yeah, and I did a little looking up on the internet while we were watching the episode. It seems like there was a little bit of people were talking about this. People weren't sure what this was referring to. The Ethel Arnon isn't directly referred to anywhere. I can't find it mentioned anywhere on the internet. We couldn't find it in our Atlas of Middle Earth.
Couldn't find it in Karen Wynn Fonstad's fucking Atlas, so it doesn't exist.
There you go. That right there shows you. If it's not in Karen Wynn Fonstad's Atlas of Middle Earth,
real.
it's Amazon original. So some people think that it might be an Amazon original reference to the Ethel Duoth, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe it's somewhere out east that we don't know about. Who knows?
We had lots of orcs screaming black speech. They're screaming Nampat.
Nampat. Yeah.
Nampat.
What do you think that means in black speech, Trevor?
We don't actually
I
know.
have no idea.
I was asking you what you thought it meant.
I mean, I figure it's they're like a whole group just kind of chanting the same thing. I imagine it has something to do with their cultural lineage.
I don't know. I just think it's fun to chant.
Nampat.
Nampat.
Maybe it's
It's a-
here we come.
It's a good chanting word.
Here come the orcs. Here come the orcs.
But so we started off with them doing some Home Alone shit. They trapped the orcs in the tower, right?
Yeah, they Home Aloned it.
Home Aloned it, and the collapsing of the tower is pretty fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Squashed orcs.
Yeah, there was some severed orcs. It was
Yeah, a lot of them died, and
it
I
was
enjoyed
pretty cool.
that.
It was pretty cool.
I really liked how they did the pan out to the villagers, and you could just still see it kind of coming down and putting all the lights.
Yeah, all the torches
From
just
the-
being
from it being squished. Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty dope.
It was pretty cool. So then we had some shots of the Numenorian ships coming over at night, and Galadriel meets Isildur in this scene, right?
Yeah. This is the first time they interact with each other, right?
It was a cool scene.
Yeah.
You could tell that it was meant to be Galadriel's meant to realize this guy is someone I should know.
Yeah.
And he tells her that his post is stable sweep, and she says a really cool line.
Yeah, she says, despise not the labor which humbles the heart. Humility has what was it?
Humility has saved
entire kingdoms, and pride
And pride to ruin.
Yeah, so that's that major thesis we talk about in Tolkien, that humility is better than pride.
Pride always leads to a fall of some sorts, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we thought that was a cool, very Tolkien-y line. Obviously, it was an Amazon original, but we thought it was well written.
Yeah.
Then just this whole scene with the Southlanders in their village.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the Kurosawa movie Seven Samurai, and I dug it.
Seven Samurai.
Yeah,
It did
one of our personal faves.
it did feel very Seven Samurai, except there was only one samurai in this scenario.
One samurai, and that's Arendir, right?
Arendir the elf, just our one elf.
One samurai.
And then someone had a line. I think it was Bronwyn. Her line to her son
to Theo
when he was a little boy. She said a few things, but it ended basically with "Find the light, and the shadow will not find you," which I thought was
very Tolkien-y.
Very Tolkien-y, very
Tolkien-y. Yeah, light is better than darkness. You know. Yeah.
And I feel like the shadow almost has double meaning there for Theo.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor, do you think Theo's the Witch King?
Honestly, I don't know what to think of Theo at this point.
I feel like he's clearly meant to be someone, right?
He's got to be somebody important, yeah.
I feel like they're building him up to be somebody.
I feel like he's definitely corruptible at this point, considering he handled the blade or whatever.
They make that clear, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, considering that old dude is all about it, and like
Sauron head. Yeah.
I pledge my loyalty to Sauron.
Yeah.
Isn't that you, Sauron?
Isn't that you? Then we get into the battle at the town.
Yeah, some really cool cinematography in this battle. That one scene where Arendir falls off the roof and falls all the way down. It's like one shot.
Yeah.
And he like falls all the way down and then takes out an orc while he's on the ground. It's all one shot.
They definitely had a lot of fun with some of these battles, doing some fun cinematographies. Yeah, like the long shots, and they did some good battle choreography too. I was pretty impressed.
Sick. Arendir's fighting is just fucking awesome to watch.
It was good. I'm impressed with that actor. I imagine he did a lot of that.
I bet he's very physically fit, that guy.
Yeah.
I like how they made him feel like you would kind of feel like an elf would move.
Right. Yep. They got him moving in the elven fashion, which is nice. Yeah. He'll dance circles around you and then hit hard in between like an elf would.
And then there's one-on-one fight with Arendir and this one orc who had like a knife in his eye, and then he pulls the knife out of his eye, and the orc's like, bleh, and is like bleeding onto his face like constantly.
It reminds me of the naked fight in Eastern Promises. You ever seen that?
In the sauna or the steam
in the
shower
bathhouse,
or whatever it was.
Yeah,
in the bathhouse.
Can I just say that I really liked that fight between them, but the way that it ended, I think, took way too long.
Yeah.
It suddenly just slows down the whole thing, and that like holding the knife or whatever it was over Arendir's face, like that just
I'm pretty sure we all called that Bronwyn was going to come up and save Arendir at the last second. They just dragged it out way too long.
Well, and I think this leads into our second point. I mentioned this. Well, this is a film nerd point, but that may or may not have been an homage to the Italian horror movie Zombie with an Eye, where there's a famous eye gouging scene.
Okay.
Which is and it's awkwardly long.
Okay.
So like I think it may have been an homage. If not, it reminded me a lot of Zombie.
Okay. Very cool.
Very famous eye gouging in there. Check it out. It's on YouTube.
But in general, I just generally thought that Peter Jackson would be very proud of this random, just nasty.
Oh yeah,
this random nasty little scene.
Oh yeah, just all blood. He loves. Yeah, Peter Jackson loves getting blood in mouths. It's one of his things. Yeah, yeah.
He's a nasty son of a bitch, and we will be talking about how nasty he is coming up soon.
Very soon, guys. Very soon. You think there's a Halloween special coming up? Maybe. I don't know.
Welcome to KoT's Spooktober.
Spooktober. Yeah, we're obsessed with Halloween. We love it.
Back to this episode. So ultimately, the initial battle with the townspeople and the orcs started off as kind of a Seven Samurai, but ultimately, the townspeople got fucking bushwhacked.
They got bushwhacked hard in the end.
Well, and we're not surprised that they ended up fighting their own either, right?
No. I thought that was a good play on that scene.
That didn't have a huge emotional impact for me because I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little meaner. I was like, fuck it, they're traitors.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to kill traitors. Yes, this happens. Like,
this does happen.
You know, I don't know. I just was like, yeah, of course. I wasn't really like,
I thought it was kind of just finally nice to see that we've got good guys battling orcs and bad men together, because that's usually how it goes
always
in Tolkien. And in the Peter Jackson movies, they skipped out on the wild.
And we think that's because of the red blood, right?
Because of the red blood, but they don't seem to be adhering to that.
No, they don't.
No,
very bloody.
A lot more gore.
Yeah. Well, also Bronwyn gets gets tagged.
Yeah, she gets smacked a couple times.
Yeah.
That scene where they're trying to deal with her wound,
That looks painful as shit.
that was pretty painful.
That was really intense. There was a lot of blood.
There was a lot of blood. It was blood accurate, I felt.
But what did I say? Remember, there was a movie I was just watching the other day called Scare Package, where they make fun of how in movies everyone always gets shot in the left shoulder.
Yep.
And where'd she get hit? Left shoulder. It's always survivable in movies, guys.
That's the survivable wound. So moving forward, we have a scene here with Isildur and Elendil. So eventually the Numenorians come and they save the day in sort of a Rohan sort of way.
Yeah.
With a big old ride up with some horses and some wee snaws and some slashing and some hacking. But there's a scene after they get here where we've got Isildur and Elendil on the field, and Elendil has fallen down.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's about to get fucked by some of these orcs. And Isildur comes to save the day and picks him back up.
And he says, I love that he's like, I'm all right. I'm all right. And then I jokingly said to Joel, I was like, and we'll never be in this position again. Like with Elendil on the ground and Isildur still standing.
I'm really happy they didn't actually have Isildur be the one who saves him, too. Halbrand throws the spear.
Yeah, he was
kills the guy.
You just checked on him to make sure. You're like, Dad, Father, are you all right? Yeah, like it's a sweet moment, really.
Yeah, it seems very much like, I want to say a call back too, but it'd be a call forward to Elendil's death.
Yes, his inevitable demise.
At the end of the last alliance, when Isildur gets the ring for
Elendil
falls, Isildur comes to get his father up, and
I'm gonna be sad because I really like this Elendil.
Me too. I'm actually really liking this Elendil.
He's
quite a bit.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
And Isildur slowly kind of
He's
warming
getting
up
there.
to him.
He's getting there. Maybe an Aryan will come back too.
But that scene definitely seemed like some foreshadowing. Absolutely. Then we got a pretty sick horse chase.
That was a sick horse chase, man.
Yeah, I really liked that horse chase
Yeah,
with Galadriel and Adar.
It was cool.
Which we find out was actually a diversion. He didn't actually have the sword hilt. He only had an axe. He had given the sword hilt to Waldrick.
That Sauron had.
Sauron had Waldrick,
That
who went and does what he does. We'll get there in a second.
We'll get there.
Did you guys notice that while they were going through the woods, that Galadriel had said words to her horse as sort of a spell-like fashion to hasten it?
I didn't.
Yeah, they do that. The elves will speak to their horses. They'll say things to them. Yeah, they do that in the original trilogy too. Like Arwen, when she's bringing it Frodo, she chants to her horse.
I didn't notice that in this episode. Good catch.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's very elvish. That's very original.
Yep.
So now we get to an important scene that a lot of people had been looking for, where we actually get to find out who Adar
a reveal.
is.
Yeah.
A reveal of sorts.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure how I feel about this yet, for a couple of reasons. So
I'm not sure either, man.
So we find out Galadriel is questioning Adar, and he finally opens up and says that he is one of the, quote, the Moriandor, the sons of the dark, the first of the first orcs.
So this
turned
is like
by Melkor.
Yeah, like a transitionary period orc.
Yeah, which I had never considered or heard of.
Well, I guess I considered
he corrects
it.
her and calls himself, says they are preferred to be called Uruks.
Which just means orc and Sindarin.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So I just thought this was interesting that he would be like an early version of an orc or an Uruk.
Yeah.
I
it's
guess
interesting. I'm not hating it necessarily. I'm just like,
I feel like it would make sense that there'd be a transitionary.
But you'd think
period.
like Morgoth would have like got rid of those ones, you know? Like if you're breeding dogs, right? You have to kill some
Well, not
dogs.
even that. If he were an end product orc, it would seem as though Melkor mastered the art of making orcs that can withstand sunlight right off the bat. So what happened after that? If his first orcs could withstand sunlight like Adar can, how did the rest of them?
Maybe as they got more evil or some shit. I don't know. That's a good point.
Maybe
Joel.
it didn't sit. There's a little things that didn't sit too well for. I could totally see it being like a turned elf, like an evil elf. He had evil elves in his.
Oh sure.
In his.
To that point, he does, like, while they're having that conversation, he, as much as he's saying, please, I want to be called Uruk, we prefer it, he does say, right to Galadriel, I guess I'm not the only elf who's been turned by darkness. So he kind of like identifies as both.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I think he was
mean,
also referring to the fact that she's kind of vicious now because of her pursuit of killing evil.
Yeah, she said some pretty dark shit.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
has.
that does seem to be a subplot that they're setting up. Like, is this quest making Galadriel just as bad as her enemies?
Yeah, because they've kind of referenced that point a couple times now.
A couple times now.
Yeah, kind of driving that one home. Yeah, so I thought that was a very interesting scene. Adar is an Uruk, one of the first orcs, also known as the Moriandor, the Sons of the Dark.
Sons of the Dark.
So then we get onto a scene with Halbrand and Galadriel. They're talking off in the woods. It seems like they're actually forming a genuine bond at this point.
Yeah, it seems like that kind of battle bond that you get.
Yeah,
with,
Halbrand mentions during battle that he got this feeling that he wishes he could hold on to. The only time he feels like he's ever been able to overcome his evil past is when he was fighting side by side
with Galadriel.
with Galadriel. And it might be kind of an homage to like, or an ode to like the bond between elves and men in battle.
Sure, I mean, yeah, their friendship has always been forged in violence.
Yeah, ever since the first age.
I still can't help but have a feeling that he's still just deceiving her.
Yeah,
think he's bad?
I'm not entirely sold on him not being Sauron. I think there's still
You still
a
think he
chance
might be Sauron?
could be fair form Sauron, especially with some of the interactions between Adar and him. When he says, "Do you remember me?" and Adar says, "No."
I think that was more like.
And then afterwards, Adar asks him, "Who are you?" I feel like that was a little interesting. The fact that Adar would even care enough to ask.
Well, I think it was more like I've made so many people suffer, and I'm such a big part of your life because I made you suffer, and I don't even remember your name.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, you don't mean anything to me. I don't even remember who you are.
Yeah,
I
killed
guess
thousands.
I thought it was interesting when he went out of his way later on to ask him, "Who is he?" And then Halbrand doesn't even answer.
Well, and yeah, he doesn't even like turn his back to like look him in the eye or whatever. And I
Mhm.
think that's extra interesting because the conversation that Galadriel just had with Adar, he mentioned that he killed Sauron. Adar said he
Exactly, yeah.
killed Sauron.
Yeah,
so
what
like,
the fuck?
so like, what if Halbrand looked him in the eyes and he was like, "Oh,
See, that was another thing because clearly Adar did something to Halbrand that Halbrand is upset
Yeah.
about, and Adar doesn't quite seem to remember. So if Halbrand were Sauron, and
It-
Adar did try to
He could have
kill
betrayed him.
Sauron or something,
yeah."
this could be Sauron having
know, yeah.
lived and being sly, and
I think y'all are stretching.
it's a stretch. It's a stretch.
I think
Okay,
y'all are
so this is-
stretching.
This is so far throughout the show. This is my favorite Tolkien hearing. Little
Who is Sauron?
Yes. Who is specifically Halbrand being Sauron is one of
Oh,
my
yeah,
favorite
yeah.
conspiracy theories I've been kind of subscribing to so far. Like I don't know that it genuinely is it, but there are so many little things here and there that pop out and you're like,
Yeah, it's true. He does have a
Could be.
few similarities.
It would be weird that Sauron was in Numenor before he was captured.
Well, then, like, what are they gonna
Right.
do? They're gonna do that whole like. Is he gonna go back to Numenor for the like? I don't
suppose
know.
there is more to be done in Numenor. So.
Doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't Elpharazon bring Sauron to?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
Technically,
So this is like
yes.
this is much later that would happen then, right?
Technically, yes, but they're doing so much time compressing. Nobody really knows.
So the problem,
right.
problem we're having, Trevor, is that it's about the year 1000 in Middle Earth of the Second Age, and it's 3200 something in Numenor. They're not matching
Mhm.
up. So like the Numenorians should have already came and fought the elves, the War of Sauron, and the elves. Like that should have under Tar Minister should have done that. You know. But yeah, I don't. It's anybody's game because of the way they're fucking with the timeline. So I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that, I guess. But then that brings us to the end of the episode. Everyone's feasting and having festivities as if they've won the battle, and then all of a
Aha.
sudden we find out that our Sauron head, Waldrick or whatever his name is, he was secretly given the sword, and then he goes and he we said he pushes the Mordor
You
button.
push the fucking Mordor button.
Yeah, it just seems the whole Mordor button
Concept.
seems very convoluted. So apparently this sword is a key and not just a sword. It also gives someone power, but it's used as a key for the Mordor Button. And the Mordor Button is in an elvish watchtower that was built by elves. And it creates
at least, yeah.
Mordor by releasing the dam, but the dam wouldn't do what it was meant to do if the orcs hadn't pre-built a bunch of tunnels.
Right.
Did the elves build this tower, or
Elves
should
built
we
the
assume?
watchtower, yeah.
It's that's what we assume, right? It's
Yeah.
Gilgalad's people that
So
built
this
the tower.
this mechanism would have had to have been built in from the start, right?
The elves would have had to have built the Mordor Button, which doesn't make any sense.
Right. I
You know what
guess
would be sick, dude? They
And
were
then
just like they were just
if
doing.
the orcs hadn't come in and like dug these trenches, this Mordor Button would be sitting here in this tower, and you'd hit the button, and it would release a dam, and then it would just like flood everything. It wouldn't set off the mountain properly
Yeah.
because the orcs hadn't come yet to dig all their little holes. So it doesn't really make sense. And then also water just dumping into an open chasm of lava wouldn't cause the entire mountain to explode. I think Trevor brought that up
I don't think-
earlier too.
I
Like,
don't know if that science is.
it felt a little strange to have it happen that way. Like I get like there being some kind of reaction, but that seems like a much larger
a
reaction
lot of
than
ash.
should than
A lot
should
of
happen.
ash, and there shouldn't have been, right?
yeah. It just
I do enjoy the idea that the elves built the Mordor Button. Like you just had like some fucking elves, and they were just like doing blow, and they were just like, it would be fucking sick, dude. When we're building this tower, if we just build it like if you were to build these canals, dude, and then the fucking water came out, boom, all that, see that big ass mountain, bam, explode.
volcano.
It doesn't
Boom.
make
Fucking volcano, man.
yeah, I agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense because it's like here's a mechanism built by evil, but the building was built by good. And like maybe if the elves did build it in, sure, maybe it was some kind of like defense mechanism against the men who sided with Morgoth.
But then
way
why
back
would
in
it
the
get
day.
set off by an evil sword?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like none of the as many theories as I can come up with don't make any sense as to
My theory is
Convoluted.
the schneefed up elvish engineers. I like that story.
Schneefed up elvish engineers. Somebody was pissed off at their boss. Was like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Fuck this.
maybe
Disgruntled elvish employees.
maybe we just have to assume that like with the Rings of Power, Sauron did some sort of deception while they were building the towers and was like, "This is a good idea, guys."
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, speaking of Sauron, there's one more thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
How they mentioned that Sauron, after the fall of Morgoth, repented a little bit, and he wanted to set things straight, and
Yeah.
then
He wanted to restore
he
order.
fell back into his old ways of like doing evil shit to restore order.
I liked that.
Yeah, because that's the thing about Sauron is he's upset. Myron,
Myron the Admiral.
the admiral, he is obsessed with order, and he'll do anything to
Order,
attain it.
organization,
Efficiency,
industrialization,
yep.
efficiency. Yeah, similar to Saruman, he had similar drives as well. But yeah, Sauron, he did genuinely do that. That was
He did
more,
repent.
He did repent at the end of the first.
We have a
age.
mentored about it.
Mm-hmm. And he did before he fell, even before his fall and his repent. He did genuinely want to make Middle Earth a better place.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was cool that they mentioned that.
I thought that was cool too. It did
Yeah.
come from somewhere true.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people might be a little confused, like, what, Sauron? He was good for a while? Yeah, he was.
Kind of good. Like I guess
At
with
2 points in his life, he was good.
with,
you know?
Yeah.
with order comes a certain level of I want things to be a certain way, and that could go
Well,
evil.
a little fascism, right? Like, in order to
Sauron
really
the fascist.
in order to really order, like, say what you want about fascism, it's orderly, you know?
It is orderly. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Can I
So yeah.
before we end, can I gripe about one thing that really bothered me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so from the beginning of the episode, I was like, Numenor's gonna come save the day,
Clearly.
Mhm.
right? And this, whatever, that was obvious. The thing that makes me mad about it is there, up until this point, is no communication at all between the Southlands and Numenor. The only person who knows any kind of what's going on down there is Halbrand.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, like, give anybody details about anything or no sense of urgency, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're there saving the day.
How do they know what town or where?
Right, and they get there, like, just in the nick of time, like,
How
nobody
they know-
knew a battle
I
was
mean,
going
Yeah,
on.
how do they know there was an active battle going on?
It's a
Like-
movie, guys. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Still,
it's a
man,
movie.
I
You-
feel
you
like
ever seen a movie?
it's
you,
all-
You ever seen a
it's all
movie?
too
Trevor?
convenient to convince me that it's like, oh, this makes sense.
It's Hollywood convenient.
There's
yeah.
something called willful suspension of disbelief, and you're supposed to practice it when you watch films. So you have to willfully suspend your disbelief, Trevor.
I cannot for this. I can't do it. That's like the one thing that really, like, there were a couple of other small things that kind of bothered me, but that's just nitpicky. This
Mhm.
is probably also nitpicky, but this is one thing that's just like, I feel like there needed to be a little bit more of a connection there for it to make more sense.
Trevor doesn't like editing, or do you like that like slow as shit Game of Thrones style where it took us 2 seasons to get over there?
I mean, Game of Thrones style is not terrible. I'm
But
enjoying
it's
Game of
slow
Thrones.
as fuck.
I
No
mean,
matter, like,
sure.
I'm
say
okay
what
with
you want about it. It's slow. It's good, but it's slow. You know?
The pacing of Rings of Power is totally fine by me. I just feel like there needed to be some more of a connection between those happening other than it mostly just being Halbrand.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ah,
But ultimately, the end of that episode, the blowing up of Orodruin coming to be
cool.
very cool to watch, but kind of like what Trevor was
Confusing?
talking. It was confusing how it came to be, and I kind of disagree with how it came to be.
It's clever.
It was a very weird series of events that seemed a little convoluted, but it was fun to finally see Orodruin blow off. Also, one more one more.
You want to pick that
Just
nit?
within the last few seconds of the episode, we see Orodruin go up, and everyone's like, take cover, people getting smashed by rocks. And then the last shot is a giant pyroclastic flow coming at the town. I just want to
love
say
how you use the scientific
Heck
term
yeah.
for
it
it.
is very cool to see. But just so everyone is aware, if you ever saw a pyroclastic flow coming
You're
at you,
fucked, friend.
you're dead, because pyroclastic flows are famously known for being upwards of 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 800 degrees
hot ash.
Celsius for
Yeah.
our metric friends. You will be fried a lot. That's the temperature that will melt steel. So no one in that town would be anything other than ashes after that pyroclast, including Galadriel, after that flow was done.
Well,
so that's
they'd
just
be like
a little
fucking-
over the top. A little over the top.
The air
Well-
would have been poisonous afterwards as
Yes.
well.
Oh
It would have
yeah,
been-
you would not be able to breathe that shit.
No.
Yeah, there'd be acid rain. Everything would be acrid.
Well, yeah, it would be like fucking Pompeii, right? Like you'd have just
Literally, yeah.
people encased in ash,
People were literally turned to glass from Pompeii. Like they found
Yeah.
glass brains of people who were cooked inside of buildings and stuff.
That's exactly what.
That's
That's terrifying.
metal
And the
as
only
fuck.
the only reason I bring this up is because the people who are in this pyroclastic flow, Galadriel, Elendil, Isildur, people we know live, and nobody would live. There wouldn't be
No,
even evidence that there was a town left.
No, you'd be 3 feet under in ash at least.
Everything would literally be incinerated. So it was really cool to see. Very impractical.
Yeah. Now that Joel the volcanologist has spoken, I agree with your volcaneering, Joel.
My vulcaneering.
Volcanologist.
Volcanology? Do you have volcanologist?
Volcanologist.
I am
Joel.
Vulcan, actually. God, I can't.
That kind of Vulcan.
I can't. I'll do the reverse there. Reverse Vulcan.
Do you know that's an ancient rabbinic symbol?
That is?
Did you know that?
The Vulcan?
Yeah, that's why Nimoy does it. It's like he
Oh.
saw it in temple when he was a kid.
That's really cool. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's a fun fact.
Fun
Fun
fact.
facts.
I don't know shit about Star Trek except that. That's like my one Star Trek fact that I have.
All right, friends. Well, that's pretty much all we've got for you for this episode.
Yeah. I'm Danny J.
I'm Trever D.
I'm Joel N., and collectively we all are...
Keep
on
Tolkien. You want to do the Aure, Trevor? You're the guest.
Alray and Tulava.
Yeah.